My nephew said I was too old to game. The moment my 15-year-old nephew laughed and said I was too old to touch the controller, he had no idea he'd just challenged a former tournament champion. I reached for the controller at Logan's 15th birthday party, fingers hovering over the sleek new console his mother had bought him. My nephew looked up from the couch, surrounded by his friends, and smirked in that particular way teenagers have perfected, equal parts amusement and cruelty. "You're too old to game, Aunt Ava. Seriously. Don't embarrass yourself in front of everyone." The room went quiet. His mother, my sister Melissa, actually laughed, a sharp bark of agreement, and physically moved the controller away from my outstretched hand. "Ava, honey, maybe stick to watching? This is a young person's thing." I was 36 years old, not ancient, but apparently past my gaming expiration date in their eyes. My hand hovered there for a moment, shaking slightly, with humiliation that burned hot in my chest. Logan's friend snickered, phones already out. I forced a smile, mumbled something about needing air, and retreated to the kitchen. Through the doorway, I watched them play, heard their laughter, felt the sting of dismissal settle deep in my bones. That night, scrolling through social media, I found it. Logan had posted a clip. "Boomer Aunt tries to game face with tears of joy." It already had 200 likes and climbing. At home, lying in bed, my phone wouldn't stop pinging. The video had spread through our family's friend networks, then beyond. Comments rolled in. "To real face with tears of joy, my aunt is the same LMAO. Old people and controllers don't mix." Each notification was another small paper cut to my pride. The sting transformed slowly into something else, something harder, sharper. Resolve. I got out of bed at midnight and pulled a dusty shoebox from the back of my closet, one I hadn't opened in years. Inside were old tournament lanyards, a cracked controller with custom buttons, and stacks of photos from competitions I'd won in my early 20s. I lifted one photo carefully, the edges yellowed with time. It showed a younger version of me holding a trophy, surrounded by teammates, grinning with exhausted triumph. The banner behind us read, "Land Queen, Ava Hart, 2009. I'd been unstoppable back then, before life got complicated, before I convinced myself gaming was just a phase I'd outgrown. I set the photo on my nightstand where I'd see it every morning. A reminder, a challenge, a promise to myself. The next evening, I walked into a gaming store and bought a second-hand console with cash I'd been saving for new work clothes. Set it up in my small apartment, controller feeling both foreign and familiar in my hands. The muscle memory was there, buried under years of neglect, but present. Like riding a bike, people say, except bikes don't have 15 buttons and competitive players who destroy me in seconds. I lost. Again and again. For hours, I lost to mid-tier bots, my fingers fumbling combos I used to execute perfectly. My back ached from sitting hunched. My eyes burned from the screen. But slowly, imperceptibly, something shifted. A bot fell. Then another. By 3 a.m, sweat cooling on my forehead, I beat an intermediate AI and allowed myself a small smile. My phone lit up with a notification I hadn't expected. Community qualifier tournament announced, $25,000 prize for finals. Open registration. All ages welcome. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This was insane. I was rusty, out of practice, years removed from competitive play. But the notification included one more line. Team-based competition. Assemble your squad. I needed allies. Fast. I made rules for myself, writing them on a sticky note that I pressed onto my monitor. Quiet work. Loud result.
No bragging. No shortcuts. No excuses.
This wasn't about revenge, I told myself, though that bitter taste of humiliation still lingered. This was about proving something to myself, that I wasn't done, wasn't washed up, wasn't too old for anything. I practiced every night after work, 2 to 4 hours of drills, map study, watching professional matches at double speed while eating dinner. My coworkers noticed the dark circles under my eyes but said nothing. My sister called twice. I let it go to voicemail. I needed a username, something that wouldn't connect back to my real identity. I thought about owls, nocturnal, patient hunters, underestimated. NightLark. It felt right, mysterious but not trying too hard. I registered for the qualifiers under that name, hands shaking slightly as I hit submit. The confirmation email arrived immediately. Welcome to the tournament, NightLark. Round 1 in 2 weeks. Note: team competition requires minimum 3 players. Assemble your roster. 2 weeks to find teammates. 2 weeks to get good enough not to embarrass myself. 2 weeks to transform from too old into something they'd never see coming. I found a Discord server for older gamers. People in their 30s and 40s who'd grown up gaming but felt pushed out by toxic teenage culture. They were cautious with newcomers, protective of their space. I joined a late-night practice session and immediately got destroyed in scrimmages. My mechanics were decent, but not great. My aim was inconsistent, but my shot calling was sharp. Years of tournament experience meant I read the game differently, not just reacting but predicting, anticipating rotations and setups before they happened. After a particularly brutal loss where I'd correctly called enemy positions 3 times in a row, 2 players sent me direct messages simultaneously. Riley, 28, former semi-pro. You've got tournament brain. Where do you play? June, 34, mother of 2. We like how you think. Want to run some more? We talked for an hour, testing chemistry, sharing war stories from old LAN tournaments. They'd both qualified for regional events back in the day. Both felt dismissed by the current scene's youth obsession. We need a third for the qualifier, Riley said. We've got a spot open if you're serious. Before I could respond, a notification popped up. A cocky teenager with the username CarterGG had joined our team roster. His voice in the next match sounded weirdly, disturbingly familiar. Mid-match, Carter started flexing about a clutch play he'd made, calling out Grandma Gaming when June missed a shot. The cadence of his voice, the specific way he pronounced certain words, sent recognition crawling up my spine like ice water. I knew that voice. I'd heard it at Logan's birthday party. Carter, unmute your camera for team verification, Riley requested. The camera flicked on and my stomach dropped. It was him, Logan's best friend Carter, the kid who'd been sitting right next to my nephew when I'd reached for that controller, when I'd been publicly humiliated and filmed for social media mockery. But he didn't recognize my voice. I'd been using a slight voice modulator to sound more neutral, less identifiable, a common practice for women gamers avoiding harassment. To Carter, NightLark was just another teammate, gender and identity obscured. Cool, we're set then, Carter said, already focused on the next match. NightLark, your support, right? Try to keep up. The dismissal in his tone was casual, thoughtless. He had no idea he was talking to Logan's boomer aunt, the woman they'd laughed at. I muted my mic and smiled. This was going to be interesting. Our first qualifier round was a mess of miscommunication and missed opportunities. We barely squeaked out a win against a team we should have dominated. But my last-second flank route, a risky play I'd called despite Carter's protests, saved the match. We pushed through to the next bracket by a single point. Carter messaged the team chat afterward. Okay, NightLark's actually a nerdy genius. That flank was cracked. Riley and June sent me private congratulations. We'd advanced, barely, but we'd advanced. The tournament was real now, tangible, possible. That night, scrolling through family social media, I saw Melissa had posted in the family group chat. She'd shared a screenshot of tournament standings with NightLark's username highlighted. This NightLark player is everywhere in the gaming community lately. Logan says they're probably some washed-up streamer trying to stay relevant. Too funny. The irony burned and motivated in equal measure. I was both washed up and climbing simultaneously, invisible and visible, dismissed and dangerous. I saved the screenshot for later, evidence of assumptions I planned to shatter. Sunday dinner at Melissa's house was mandatory family tradition. I showed up with store-bought cookies, smiled through her passive-aggressive comments about my still being single at your age, and watched Logan practice with his varsity esports team in the basement. He was good, genuinely talented, but predictable. He played aggressively, emotionally, tilting when things went wrong. Melissa bragged endlessly about his skills, his scholarships opportunities, his future as a professional player. He's got real talent, not like these casual gamers who think they're good, she said, looking at me pointedly. I nodded, passed the salad, said nothing. Logan scrolled through his phone during dinner, barely paying attention to the adults. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Carter just texted, our tournament substitute, NightLark, might be female. He says whoever it is, they're kinda cracked at strategy. He laughed. Probably some girl trying to prove something. They always fail under pressure. Melissa hummed agreement. I took another bite of pasta, keeping my face neutral. Under the table, my hands clenched into fists. Not yet, I told myself. Quiet work. Loud result. The time for revelation would come. But first, I had to earn it. The training became obsessive. I studied map layouts until I could draw them from memory. I analyzed professional matches frame by frame, noting timing windows and rotation patterns. I recorded my own gameplay, forcing myself to watch every mistake, every missed shot, every poor decision. My wrists ached constantly. I bought compression gloves and kept going. June taught me updated movement techniques. Riley drilled aim training with me for hours. And slowly, painfully, I improved. My shot percentage climbed from 40% to 65%. My reaction time decreased by milliseconds that mattered. I invented new strategies, including one I called Hollow Lantern, a fake rotation that bled enemy time while we set up somewhere unexpected. That's brilliant, Riley said when I explained it. Where'd you learn to think like that? I almost told them then about the tournaments, the trophies, the years of experience. But something held me back. The reveal had to be perfect, earned, undeniable. The next qualifier round was streamed to a small audience, maybe 300 viewers. Going live meant exposure, risk, possibility. My finger hovered over the start stream button. Carter messaged, cameras mandatory for this round. You good with that, NightLark? I typed back. Voice mod and no cam.
Non negotiable.
And clicked join. The stream started poorly. We dropped the first 3 rounds fast, our coordination breaking down under pressure. Chat exploded with mockery. NightLark throwing face with tears of joy. Boomer panic. Why no cam? Hiding the embarrassment. The comments cut deeper than they should have because somewhere in my mind, Logan's voice echoed. Too old, too old, too old. But I'd learned something in my tournament years that these kids didn't know yet. Composure under fire isn't about never feeling pressure. It's about functioning despite it. Hollow Lantern, I called quietly. Trust me. We executed the fake rotation perfectly. The enemy team bit hard, rotating to defend a site we'd never intended to hit. We swept the real target site in 30 seconds, planted the objective, and held. 1 round became 2. 2 became a reverse sweep. We won the map with a strategy most players had never seen. Chat shifted. Wait, NightLark kinda cold. That was actually insane. Who I asked this player? And then something unexpected happened. A mid-tier streamer with 15,000 viewers raided our channel. Suddenly, our viewer count exploded from 300 to 15,000. The streamer's voice boomed through. Chat, who's NightLark? Those calls were surgical. The raid changed everything overnight. Clips of my callouts spread across gaming Twitter. Calm under pressure. Big brain plays. NightLark clutch compilation. Our team's follower count surged. Brands started sliding into DMs with sponsorship inquiries. This small qualifier tournament had suddenly put us on the map. Riley and June were ecstatic. Carter was suspicious. Why won't you show your face? He asked during practice. Everyone wants to know who you are. I deflected, citing privacy concerns, online harassment, the usual reasons women gave for staying anonymous in gaming spaces. But the attention brought other complications. Logan quoted one of my clips on his Instagram story. Not bad for a grandma. Still couldn't beat me though, fire. The casual arrogance, the assumption he was superior, it fueled something dark and determined in my chest. Melissa found my practice schedule written on my fridge during an unannounced visit to my apartment. She sneered at the meticulous timing blocks, the listed drills. Is this a gaming thing? Ava, this is pathetic. You're 36. Focus on a real job, finding a partner, something that matters. But my boss at work had noticed my discipline and focus. He approved flexible hours for what he called a personal project, impressed by my time management. Then the tournament bracket published. And there, on our path to finals, was Logan's varsity esports team. Carter suggested a friendly scrim between our teams, good practice, build community. All that sportsmanship language that masked competitive hunger. I agreed, knowing this was reconnaissance as much as practice. Through my voice mod, through the anonymous username, I'd be playing against Logan directly for the first time. The match started with Logan's immediate trash talk. "NightLark, whoever you are, you're gonna choke," like he laughed, like my aunt did at life. Too old and too scared to try anything real. His friends howled with laughter. Carter stayed quiet, focused. We played, and I dismantled them. Every aggressive push Logan made, I'd already rotated to counter. Every predictable pattern, I exploited. The final round came down to a 1v3, me versus Logan, Carter, and another player. I used sound cues, bait utility, perfect timing. Eliminated them one by one with plays I'd practiced 10,000 times. Match over. Silence on their end. Then Logan's voice, tight with anger. Rematch.
Right now.
And this time, NightLark shows camera. My team exchanged concerned messages. "Riley, you don't have to." "June, your privacy matters." But Logan was posting in public channels calling me a coward, saying I was hiding because I was actually trash, that I'd gotten lucky. The tournament organizer messaged me privately. "Anonymous play is allowed per rules. Age or identity discrimination is not. You're protected."
But the pressure mounted.
I declined the camera demand. My reasoning was simple. The tournament rules allowed anonymous play, and I wasn't going to break my own boundaries because a teenager threw a tantrum. But Logan took to his stream. He had a modest following, maybe 2,000 subscribers, and called me out publicly. "NightLark is a coward," he said to his chat. "Hiding behind anonymity because they know they're trash. Probably some washed-up has-been who can't handle real competition." His chat turned toxic immediately, brigading our team's social media with harassment, demanding I show my face or forfeit. The hate was crushing. Comments questioning my skill, my identity, my right to compete. For 48 hours, it was relentless. Riley and June defended me publicly, but the tide felt overwhelming. I almost quit, almost deleted everything, and walked away. Then something shifted. I posted a single message on our team account. "Lost a round yesterday. Miscalled a rotate. Cost us the match. Here's the breakdown of what I did wrong and how to avoid it." I proceeded to post a 10-minute analysis of my mistake. Not defensive, not making excuses, just honest tactical breakdown. The hate transformed into respect. Comments shifted. "This is what leadership looks like. Owning mistakes equals pro mentality." NightLark just turned hate into a masterclass. And then a private message arrived from a professional esports coach. "Who taught you to lead like that?" The question haunted me because the answer was complicated. I'd learned leadership through failure, through losing tournament finals, through making mistakes that cost my old teams everything. I'd learned by being the woman in male-dominated spaces, always having to be twice as good to receive half the credit. I'd learned through years of being dismissed, overlooked, told I didn't belong. An old clip resurfaced on Reddit, grainy footage from 2009 of a campus LAN tournament. A younger me, holding a trophy, screaming with joy. The thread speculated, could NightLark be this old-school LAN queen? The dates aligned. The playstyle matched. People were connecting dots. I didn't confirm or deny. Instead, I posted, "Experience is not a weakness. It's a weapon." The ambiguity kept the mystery alive while planting seeds. Let them wonder. Let them question their assumptions about age and skill. Melissa saw the thread. She called me, voice sharp with accusation. "If you're doing what I think you're doing, if you're planning to embarrass Logan at these finals, don't bother coming to Thanksgiving. Or Christmas. You'll be dead to this family." I hung up without responding. Some threats weren't worth dignifying with answers. I made a private promise to myself, If we reached the grand finals, I'd reveal my identity. Not before, because I hadn't earned it yet. The reveal needed to be backed by undeniable skill, by victory that couldn't be dismissed as luck. It needed to be a statement. During one of Logan's streams, I sent him an anonymous gift, a rare cosmetic skin he'd been wanting, probably $50 worth. He accepted it gleefully, mocking the sender. Some random trying to bribe me for attention. Pathetic. Thanks for the skin though, loser. His chat laughed with him. I watched from my anonymous account, smiling. He had no idea that random loser would soon be standing opposite him in a finals match, holding everything he wanted. Carter messaged NightLark privately later that night. You remind me of someone I respect.
Can't put my finger on it.
But you carry yourself like you've been here before, like you've won things that matter. Whoever you are, thanks for teaching me things my usual teammates don't. The message hit differently than expected. Carter wasn't a bad kid, just young, thoughtless, caught up in his friend's arrogance. I typed back. Experience finds you whether you seek it or not. Keep growing. The semi-final match was our moment to prove everything. We deployed Hollow Lantern with absolute precision, fake rotations, perfect timing, strategic patience that made our opponents tear their hair out. The casters replayed my timing on the broadcast 3 times, analyzing how we dismantled a seeded team that should have crushed us. NightLark is playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, one caster said. We won 13-7, dominant from start to finish. The victory felt earned, real, undeniable. A sponsor reached out immediately with a contract offer, contingent on a post-final interview with full identity reveal. The finals bracket set. Our team versus Logan's varsity squad. The matchup everyone had been speculating about since our earlier scrim. Family group chats exploded. Melissa threatened to speak to tournament organizers about the conflict of interest of me playing against her son. The organizers ignored her completely. Logan posted on every platform, NightLark's going down. Can't hide behind tactics when we're just better. His confidence wasn't entirely unfounded. His team was good, legitimately talented. This would be the hardest match we'd faced. Carter messaged me privately with a simple question. And Ava? My heart stopped. How did he know? Then he sent a voice clip, me calling a rotation, played alongside an old family video of me talking. The cadence matched. I replied with a single emoji. An owl, NightLark. Carter called immediately, voice unmodded for the first time. It's really you, he said, shock and awe mixing. The whole time, Logan's been trashing you and you've been, he laughed, slightly hysterical. You've been destroying everyone. I dropped my voice mod for him, speaking naturally.
Yes.
It's me. And I need you to keep this quiet until after finals. Silence while he processed. Then, let's make history. I'll help. Logan's got tells. He pushes mid when he's tilted. He over-rotates when he's behind. I'll feed you intel. Was it fair? Maybe not. But Logan had posted me online for mockery, had called me too old and worthless, had spent months dismissing my entire existence. This wasn't about fairness anymore. This was about making a statement that would echo. The finals were held in a local esports arena, not massive, maybe 300 people in attendance, but with thousands streaming online. Walking into that venue, anonymous behind my username, felt like stepping into destiny. Logan's team sat across the stage. His camera found my blank profile square, and he smirked at it, cocky and assured. The first map started. And Logan's team destroyed us, fast and brutal, 13-6. Logan stood up after map 1, pointed at my blank camera square, and yelled loud enough for the whole arena to hear. Too old to keep up. Stick to watching NightLark. The crowd's energy split, half cheering for the underdog teenager, half uncomfortable with the disrespect. Melissa stood in the stands, beaming with pride at her son's performance. But I'd learned long ago that tournaments aren't won in single maps. They're won by teams that stay calm under pressure, that adjust strategy, that don't tilt when things go wrong. Slow defaults. I called quietly to my team. Stack utility. Let them push into us. We're fine.
Map 2 was a grind.
Every round went to final seconds. We played patient, methodical, frustrating Logan's aggressive style. He wanted fast fights and highlight plays. We gave him nothing but time wasted and perfect crossfires. The map went to sudden death overtime, 12-12. Next point wins. I called a variation of Hollow Lantern with 30 seconds left. Logan's team bid on the fake, rotating exactly as predicted. We hit the empty site clean, planted with 10 seconds remaining, and held. 13-12. We'd stolen map 2 on pure strategy. The arena erupted. Logan's face went red. Melissa screamed something from the stands that the broadcast mics thankfully didn't catch. The score was tied 1-1. Everything came down to map 3. You won't believe what happens next. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the epic conclusion. Map 3, the decider, winner take all. My wrists throbbed with pain, compressed in gloves that barely helped. The clock felt like it was moving at double speed. Melissa's voice carried from the stands, loud and grating, trying to rattle me. Quit while you can. You're embarrassing yourself. But I'd been here before, years ago, when stakes felt equally massive. I knew this pressure. I'd survived it once and could survive it again. Lantern Dark, I called, a variation we'd practiced but never used in competition. A double fake that required perfect timing and trust. Logan's team read the first fake, adapted, started rotating to counter. But we predicted their counter had already moved to a third position. The play worked like surgery, precise, unexpected, devastating. We took 3 straight rounds before they adjusted. But they did adjust. Logan stopped tilting, started playing smart. Carter fed me information about their plan setup, but it only helped so much. The map ground down to 12-12 again. Final round. Winner becomes champion. My heart hammered in my chest. The round opened with me isolated, separated from my team, facing 2 enemies in close quarters. Chat exploded. NightLark through. It's over. Choke incoming. But I'd practiced this scenario 10,000 times. I baited footsteps, forcing one enemy to peek early. Eliminated him. Forced the second to rotate. Planted the objective with 0:01 on the clock. Held against the desperate rush with positioning instead of mechanics. The buzzer sounded.
Victory. Champion.
The gem erupted with sound that shook the walls. Casters screamed NightLark's name. My teammates jumped from their chairs, hugging each other. Logan sat frozen, controller limp in his hands, staring at the defeat screen. Carter glanced at me, knowing, and gave the smallest nod of respect. The interviewer approached our team, camera crew following. Incredible match. NightLark, you've been anonymous this whole tournament. Any chance you'll reveal yourself to your fans now? The moment I'd promised myself. The moment I'd earned. I looked at Riley and June. They nodded encouragement. I reached for my camera settings and clicked Enable. The blank square disappeared, replaced by my face, tired, 36 years old, wearing a slight smile. The arena went silent. Then gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through grass. Hi, Logan, I said clearly directly into the camera. His head snapped up, eyes going wide with recognition and horror.
Hey, Melissa.
My sister's face went pale in the stands. The silence broke into chaos, some cheering, some shocked, everyone talking at once. The interviewer recovered first. Wait, I nodded.
I'm Ava Hart.
Land Queen, 2009. And apparently still too old to game. The arena exploded with cheers and laughter. Melissa pushed through the crowd, furious, face red with rage. You humiliated my son. In front of everyone. How could you? I stood, suddenly calm, meeting her eyes. I didn't humiliate Logan. I outplanned him, outstrategized him, outplayed him. The game was fair. The rules were followed. If he's humiliated, it's because he assumed age made me irrelevant. The cameras caught everything. Logan sat with his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. But he wasn't crying from embarrassment. When he looked up, his eyes were wet but clear. He stood, walked across the stage slowly, and extended his hand. His voice cracked. That was incredible. I was wrong. About everything. The handshake lasted longer than necessary. Respect passed between us, genuine and earned. The crowd roared approval. Melissa stood frozen, realizing her son had just given me absolution she'd tried to deny. I turned to the interviewer, to the cameras, to everyone watching. "I'm announcing a mentorship fund," I said, words I'd prepared for this moment. For women, for older gamers, for anyone told they don't belong in esports. Because age isn't a weakness. Experience isn't a liability. And being underestimated is the greatest advantage you can have. The crowd's response shook the building. The sponsor rep gave me a thumbs up from the sideline. This was real now. All of it. The contract signing happened live, on camera, while thousands watched online. My hand shook slightly, not from nervousness but from exhaustion, from wrist pain, from the weight of everything this moment represented. I signed my name, Ava Hart, aka NightLark. Official professional player and team captain. Riley and June stood on either side of me, Carter slightly behind, all of us wearing matching team jerseys with our names printed on the back. Logan watched from his team section, talking quietly with his coach. His embarrassment had transformed into something else. Maybe respect, maybe motivation, maybe just the realization that assumptions are dangerous. The interviewer asked her final question. "Ava, you proved everyone wrong today. What would you say to people who told you that you were too old, too washed up, too past your prime to compete?" I thought about my father's shoebox, about tournament lanyards and old trophies, about years of being dismissed and discounted. "I'd say they confused age with obsolescence," I replied. "Youth has advantages, faster reflexes, more time to practice. But experience has advantages too, pattern recognition, emotional control, strategic thinking. I didn't win because I'm old. I won because I'm old enough to know that the game isn't just mechanics. It's mind. And mind doesn't decay, it sharpens." The interview ended. The cameras cut. And I was finally, completely, undeniably victorious. The aftermath was surreal. My phone exploded with messages. Old tournament friends congratulating me, brands offering sponsorships, media requesting interviews. The clip of my reveal had gone viral, shared across every gaming platform with captions like, "Never underestimate experience," and "Age is just a number." But the message that mattered most came from Logan that night. "Can we talk? Not online. In person." We met at a quiet cafe the next morning. He looked different, smaller somehow, less cocky, more human. "I was an asshole," he said without preamble. "To you, about you, everything. I'm sorry." I stirred my coffee, letting him sit with his apology. "Why did you assume I couldn't play?" He thought about it. "Because Mom always talked about you like you'd failed at life. Single, no kids, not successful like her." I thought, he paused, "I thought gaming was the one thing I had that made me better than you." The honesty cut through my anger. He was 15, echoing his mother's bitterness, trapped in assumptions he'd inherited. "Gaming doesn't make you better or worse than anyone," I said. "It's just something we do. The person matters, not the skill." Logan nodded slowly. "Will you teach me? Not gaming, I mean the other stuff. The patience, the strategy, the not tilting thing." I smiled.
Yeah.
"I can do that." The mentorship fund launched with the prize money as seed capital, $25,000 split between tournament winnings and sponsor bonuses. We created programs for women entering esports, for older players returning to competition, for anyone who'd been told they didn't belong. The response overwhelmed us completely. Melissa never apologized. She doubled down on family group chats, calling my victory luck and unfair and embarrassing for everyone involved. But slowly, other family members started reaching out privately. An uncle who'd given up guitar because he thought he was too old to learn, a cousin who'd stopped painting because her kids said it was a waste of time. The message spread beyond gaming. Don't let age define your limitations. The human brain is plastic, adaptive, capable of growth at any age. We'd been sold a lie that peak performance happens in your 20s and everything after is decline. But expertise takes years. Mastery requires time. Some things actually improve with age. My team continued competing. We didn't win every tournament. We lost some badly. But we established ourselves as legitimate competitors, proof that diverse age ranges could thrive in esports. Brands started featuring older gamers in advertising. Tournament organizers added age diversity requirements to their rules. Riley opened a coaching service. June started streaming for parents who gamed. Carter became our youngest advocate, speaking at schools about respecting experience. And me? I kept playing,
Kept winning.
kept proving the doubters wrong. A year later, I attended Logan's 16th birthday party. Same house, same family, completely different energy. Logan handed me a controller, without hesitation. Wanna play, and Ava? No mockery, just genuine invitation. We played together, teammates instead of opponents, while his friends watched with respect instead of ridicule. Melissa watched from the kitchen, saying nothing. Our relationship remained fractured, maybe permanently. But Logan had grown, learned, changed. That was enough. After the party, he walked me to my car. I tell people about you, he said. About what you did. Some of them don't believe it until I show them the clips. I smiled.
Good.
Let them doubt. Doubt makes victory sweeter. He laughed, then grew serious. You didn't just beat me in that tournament. You changed how I see everything. Age, experience, assumptions. Thank you. The drive home felt different than a year ago. Then, I'd been humiliated, dismissed, hungry to prove something. Now, I'd proven it and built something bigger than revenge. A movement, a message, a legacy. My phone buzzed with notifications. Tournament invites, sponsorship renewals, mentorship applications. I pulled into my parking space and sat for a moment, looking at the Land Queen photo on my dashboard. We did it. I whispered to my younger self. We're not too old. We're exactly old enough to win differently. Too old to game?
No.
Just old enough to know that the game was never really about age at all.